here in a second. Good evening, Texas bikers and bikers all across the nation. This is Butch Popeye Moss with Texas Biker Radio, and joining me tonight is my co-host and partner in crime, Mel O.G. Robbins. Good evening, Mel. How are you doing?
Doing just great. Thinking about our next crime.
Mel, see, on the 28th, Monday, the 28th, was our Biker Legislative Day in the Texas State Capitol. And we took our A team and we went down to visit State Representative Nieve, that is pushing House Bill 748. It's a bill that repeals the current helmet law, or the hermit law too, current helmet law. And, that's bad news. It's bad news because the current law, the current helmet law we have now is working. And it's working because of the things we've done motorcycle safety wise in the state of Texas. It's 65% of all registered motorcyclists do wear helmets. Now, under the current law, you have a choice whether to wear a helmet or not. You must meet certain specifications. And Mel, you want to tell everybody what those are?
Yes. Those exemptions stop law enforcement from simply pulling you over on a whim and asking to see proof that you have completed a motorcycle safety course. And of course, everyone carries that certificate in their back pocket. And they can ask to see proof of your insurance, because that's a part of the deal on not having to wear a helmet is that you will have completed the safety course. Well, first of all, you got to be 21 and older. You have to have completed the safety course, and you have to have the appropriate insurance coverage for yourself. And hey, I can understand that. You know, they're not looking for you to be a ward of the state if you decide to plow into the side of the road with your head without a helmet on. That's just being responsible. But let's strip it down here a little bit. A lot of people want to get into the argument about, well, you ought to be wearing a helmet anyway. Well, nobody's arguing about the helmet thing. Everyone has their own personal opinion on whether or not you should be wearing a helmet based on their own experiences, the things they've seen, and the things they've done. Everybody has their own opinion. And God bless everybody with their opinion. Same as seatbelts. The issue here is we're adults and we ought to be able to have a choice as to whether or not we want to do that. And I'd say the same thing about seatbelts. I think the citizens in this country got railroaded on seatbelts. However, we're talking about helmets here. We want our freedom of choice. And that's really what it's about. So don't argue with me about whether or not you ought to be wearing a helmet. Hell, I wear a helmet. And, if you want to hear my personal opinion, I think everyone ought to wear a helmet just to be safe. But that doesn't mean I think everyone should be forced to wear a helmet. You got lots of folks out there that just don't care to wear a helmet, never have, never will. And hey, God bless them. They're an adult. This is America, the United States, and they have a right. So, it's the root of it here is having a choice. The second issue here is the insidious part And I don't know why the hell she's wanting to get rid of those exclusions. But the insidious part is if that goes through, you think you're being profiled now? At least they have to come up with some kind of an excuse to stop you, or they're supposed to. However, we're hearing that's not even happening anymore. We'll tell you a little more about that later on here, but they won't even have to make an excuse to pull you over and ask to see your certificate of compliance with the safety course or proof of your insurance. Are they going to be pulling regular motorists over to see if they have insurance? No. And God, I wish they would, but they're not able to do that, and they shouldn't be able to do that. Now, it was interesting when we met with this lady.
Oh yeah.
Just to watch her body language. She was obviously nervous. There were a lot of bikers in there, and she had, I think, they received a hell of a lot of phone calls, a lot of emails. She knew she had stepped off into some deep water. And contrary to what that Houston newspaper said about saying about 200 bikers showed up in Austin, I think the number far exceeded that. I mean, it wasn't the thousands it should have been, but there was a fair number of bikers there, and it ranked in the hundreds. Nonetheless, her body language gave her away that she was nervous. However, she spoke the politician weasel language. When she was asked several times, will you withdraw HB 748? She never made any kind of an affirmative statement, even to the effect of, well, let me look at it first, but you certainly make a strong point, giving you, some positive vibes here. What she did was just simply say, well, let me look at it. Well, that was political weasel talk, weasel language.
Yep.
From a pure political weasel. And I could tell right then and there she wasn't going to do it. And sure enough, later in the day, we ran across a very reliable source. We're not going to name names here, but a very reliable source who told us he had it on very good information from people who had spoken with some of her people that she had no frickin' intention of withdrawing that bill. None whatsoever. She tries to represent it as being some kind of a bill she came up with pursuant to a town hall meeting she had where some family or people came forward and talked about somebody who died unnecessarily. If they had been wearing a helmet, they probably would have survived, blah, 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 blah. I think that's bullshit. I really think it's bullshit. I'm sorry.
Mel, when we went down there with the dream team, and let me tell you, everything they said to her, all the reasons were sound. Anyone that is coherent, you know what I'm saying? Anyone that's coherent, anyone that has common sense would see that what we were saying and the facts we were giving her would at least make her stop and think about what it is she's doing. And because, Mel, when we said to her, and I'll tell everybody this right now, that a repeal of the current bill is not the answer. The answer is what we've been doing, and that's educating the young riders out there, the old riders too, is educating everybody that, on motorcycle safety issues, and that includes wearing a helmet. And Mel, like you said, it's about choice. It's about being a Texan. We're all about choice. We're not
Absolutely.
we're not about being forced into doing something, even though it may be good for us to do it. We shouldn't be forced into doing it. We should be compelled by education to do it. And that's where the answer is at. It's not in more motorcycle bills, more rules, more regulations. It's just not. And for her to come up with the deal that this happened at a town hall, let me tell you, Mel, that was probably pretty quick thinking on her part, if it was her that thought of it, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm sure she had a few days to put this story together, because we started pounding her close to a week before we got down there to legislation day, because the rabbit was out of the hat.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was.
The biker world had discovered she had filed this. And the real irony here, you got this woman preaching safety to us when she goes out, gets drunk, plows her BMW into a tree, and keeps telling the police how much she loves them.
Yeah, I love
when
you.
they show up. Yeah. And she's preaching safety to us.
Yeah.
So, you know, God love her.
Mel, I just wonder if she, at her town hall, she heard anything about drunk driving. Just saying.
It would be it would be an interesting subject to bring up at her next town hall meeting.
Well, I promise if this continues, we'll be at her next town hall. But she's safe. She's down there in the state legislature now, probably the next 6 months. So, but Mel, we went around to all our legislators, the ones that we are their constituents, and also ones that we know that are friends. And, you know, we did ask each and every one of them not to support HB 748. And at the same time, we were talking to them about motorcycle profiling and the things that go on out there. But this helmet bill, like you said, the insidious part of it that repeals that part of it that keeps law enforcement from just stopping you willy-nilly. You think motorcycle profiling is bad now? Wait till they don't have to have a reason to stop you other than to check your insurance.
Yeah, and they're getting pretty blatant on stops anyway.
That's
I mean,
right.
We were told about a large group that was on its way to legislation day that got pulled over in a rest area. They, of course, immediately asked, how come we're being pulled over? And the police just say, we wanted to catalog you.
Yeah.
Now, that's pretty damn blatant.
Yeah. And from
We are
what
hoping
from what I
somebody
understand, Mel,
takes that.
from what I understand, those weren't all 1% clubs neither.
No, not at all.
So everybody take note. This will spread to everybody or anybody that's going to an event. Anybody. Especially since now the kinfolk have made it onto the radar, Mel, as a tier 3 gang, and you know, and they don't necessarily wear their cuts when riding. So what now?
That's right.
Yeah, this is what we've been warning about, and it is happening. And man, I
think.
Go ahead.
I think some of the good news is all the representatives we talked to. Of course, a lot of them think that HB 748 won't even make it out of committee, but we nonetheless talked on both the representative side and the Senate side, getting the cannon primed that if it does make it past committee, that they not support it and they start talking against it. And they all were really, gave us affirmative response that they understood completely what we were talking about, and they think helmet laws are bullshit. So that was the good news. And I think the motorcycle profiling bill, even though a lot of them are a little standoffish, mainly because I think law enforcement would really start lashing out at them for backing it. I think we're picking up a lot of sympathy for that.
Yeah.
And I liked what one legislator talked about, because I'd never really looked at it that way, but they said, first of all, like you have said many times, the Texas state legislation is a bill-killing machine. I mean, statistically, it's something like only 17% of the new bills that are introduced each year get passed into law. And
Right.
maybe that's a little bit of a godsend. I mean, hell, the laws on the books are already many feet thick. We've got thousands of laws on the books. So, government just keeps getting bigger every time they pass new laws. But only 17% make it. However, it was pointed out that when you start introducing something like a anti-profiling bill, even if it doesn't make it, the word gets out there, particularly law enforcement, that, hey, this is being talked about now, and maybe we better cool our jets a little bit, because if we keep pushing, it's been brought up once, yeah, it was defeated, but they're going to bring it up next time, and the next time after that, and let's not give them fuel to get this thing passed. So it is a double-edged sword for us, and it will cut both ways in our favor if we can get the damn thing introduced.
Exactly, Mel. Hey, when we do these live broadcasts and stuff, your picture doesn't pop up like it is when we do one that's pre-recorded. So I guess I'm going to have to get a picture of you when we do a live show. Just hold the picture. Hold the picture.
You pin my picture up in the back.
Yeah, I need to get some props in here. So while you're talking and I'm sitting here, I'm just not sitting here wiggling and jiggling like I do. Everybody sees my head moving up and down. Well, it's because my leg is shaking. It's something I've done since I can remember when I was a kid or whatever else. I guess it's nervous energy, huh?
Dr. Yeah, you
Dr.
do
Mel.
vibrate. You do vibrate quite a bit.
But Matt, we were pleased with the reactions we got about 748, and they all knew it was coming. Wasn't that funny? They all know. Well, I know what you hear about because they had already heard about it.
Oh yeah, it was funny. It was funny. We walked into a couple places and said, "We want to talk to you about," and they said 748. Which I felt really good about because, that meant there were a lot of bikers wandering around the Capitol with a mission in mind. And by God, you all did well.
Yeah.
You did us proud.
Yeah. But
we got to keep it up. And you know what? We need to keep track of what the hell she does, because if she does not withdraw it, if she lets it float, now you told me she won by 9,000 votes.
That's right.
There are 10,000 registered motorcycles in her district. Now, that doesn't necessarily say that all 10,000 would vote against her, but several thousand would. That coupled with the fact we get a few other facts and we get a few people wandering around that area, knocking on doors, and I'll bet you we can come up with enough votes to knock her out.
Well, Mel, that's not to mention all those bikers and their spouses
That's
their
right.
kids.
Bikers have friends.
and their kids that are old enough to vote.
Yeah,
Yeah.
bikers do reproduce.
We we can influence elections, Mel. We've already proved that.
Yep.
We've already proved that. And if we set our sights on somebody, we can really give them hell. And I would think that anyone that knows her should pass this along. That we're serious. You know, and I told one
Yep.
of her staff members, I said, hey, we are activists. We're not people that are going to sit on the sidelines and just let it happen to us.
Even Sergeant Swanton didn't think we could do anything.
That's exactly
He called us
right.
He called us outsiders.
Yeah, that's exactly. Our mission with Sergeant Swanton was to keep him from getting elected. And by God, that's what we did.
We sank Swanton.
We did spank him. And you know what, Mel? All over one thing. And I really hate to say this. Should I say it or not?
Go for it.
We brought up the fact that Sergeant Swanton had never mentioned his stance on the Second Amendment, and that he more than likely would invade your home if he could and take your weapon away from you, your Second Amendment privileges, your Second Amendment rights, not a privilege, your right to bear arms. And I guarantee you, Sergeant Swanton doesn't believe in that at all. At all. And matter of fact is he would never comment on it every time we asked him. So go smoke
That's
a big
right.
one, Swanton. But now, well, wait a minute. Let's finish up with the legislative day. If we said all we need to say on that, no, we haven't. Mel, we need to keep the phone calls going. Maybe we should send out a signal every couple of weeks. Everybody call her now.
Yeah.
Ask her
Yeah,
to withdraw that.
Don't think you did the job just by performing on legislation day.
Yeah.
You have to be persistent. You got to keep after it.
And call your legislator. Doesn't matter about her office. Call your legislator and ask them not to support SB 748. And when the time comes, when we find sponsors, and from what I read today, we may be close to it. From what I read today, we've got people saying they'll co-sponsor it. That means we have to have somebody to sponsor it. So, you know, we need somebody to step up and do that. And I think we're pretty close to it. I think. But when that happens, another round of phone calls. And you know what, Mel? It would be great for you to go down and visit your legislator. Pack up the family, pack up the kids, go down there. It'd be a great experience for them. A great experience for them. Take them down there and go in there and talk to your state legislature. Let your kids see how this works.
Yeah, and the Capitol Grill's pretty decent.
That's right.
Take the family in, feed them. Not that expensive.
Take the tour. You know.
That's right.
Spend a day
Now,
or two there.
also, we do have a legislative friend that is going to reintroduce again the dead red bill,
That's right.
and it just might make it this time.
We don't
And
have a
they're
number
also
yet.
Yep. And we're also talking about lane filtering.
Yep.
So all those subjects are alive and well in Austin,
That's right.
but they won't remain alive and well unless we keep talking to our representatives.
That's right. That's right. Man. Mel, I forgot what I was going to say next. Poof, he's a goldfish.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to mention for a second that all those Houston police officers got shot the other night.
Yeah.
I'd mentioned that where I did one of my morning or evening rants. I don't even know which time of day it was when I did that, but you know, I'd like to take this time to ask everyone to say prayers for those police officers. They were uh, evidently they were serving warrants at a drug house or something. They got open fire on. And so, we're not anti-police. We may sound like it at times, but we are not anti-police. Is that right, Mel?
That's right. I've got a son that's a police officer.
That's right.
So,
That's right. And,
But-
go ahead.
he's one of the good guys.
Mm-hmm.
He understands bikers. He knows what it's all about. And he doesn't believe in the profiling crap and all that other stuff. We talk a lot.
Yeah. And he's the Dirty Harry of the police department up there.
No. Yeah, one of these nights I'll have to tell you about his last escapade.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
The department refers to him as the cowboy, John Wayne. I call him Batman. So
one night we'll have to come on and do that story just for the heck of it, man. It's incredible, absolutely incredible.
that was a hell of a story. Hell of
Yeah.
a story when he called me. He called me at 4 a.m. in the morning.
Now
He was pumped.
that's going to make it into a movie somewhere. That's right. That kind of stuff right there is Captain Marvel stuff. Is what
That's
that
right.
was. Anyway, so condolences to the Houston police officers that were shot, and I hope they recover. And I understand the two bad guys are dead, 2 or 3, however it was, and probably more arrests to come. But it was incredible. Matter of fact, I was watching a show late into the night, and it was about drugs. And it's incredible that it seems as though we're losing that so-called war on drugs. Matter of fact, they don't even call it war on drugs anymore, right?
I don't know what the hell they call it.
I mean, our streets are infested. Our streets are infested with all these drugs. I mean, all these people that are hooked on these drugs that keep getting arrested over and over and over again.
Yeah,
And
it's past the status of war. I think you could class it as an epidemic.
yeah. And Mel, the probably the biggest culprits in this, and the people you want to blame are our politicians that keep us with open and porous borders, and they don't want to fix it. They don't want to fix it, so therefore they've got to want these drugs flowing into the country. And I have no doubt that money is making it into their pockets. It has to be. It has to be. If you can buy a cop, if you can buy a border patrol agent, if you can buy a Homeland Security personnel, I mean, you can buy anybody, including a politician.
They're probably easier to buy.
Yes. Because they're protected, they're insulated, and they're immune to the laws that we have to follow.
Laws for them, laws for
There you
us.
go. There you go. And all they do with each other is play a grab ass and a giant game of gotcha. Meanwhile, they take their European and Caribbean trips paid for by either the taxpayers or lobbyists. It's incredible what we see going on. It's incredible what we see going on. But we're not gonna play along. We're not gonna play along. And we're gonna stand up. Hey, you and I were trying to figure out when the next shutdown is. We don't know yet. I heard tonight it was tomorrow, but that seemed like that 3 weeks passed too quick, right?
It seems to me, I remember a date of February 10th. Don't ask me why.
Okay. Well,
But,
it's not even.
And, you know, I don't even know if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But, well, yeah, February 10th is on a Sunday.
Yeah.
So I don't even know if that's a valid date. But if I remember right, it was for a 3-week period. So it would include a pay period.
Right.
So the government folks could get their back pay.
Yeah. Hurrah for us, huh? Or them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we've already been through this, us people in the private sector. We didn't ever have that kind of back pay and shit coming at us. No.
Hell, I've had my fair share of mayonnaise and lettuce sandwiches.
There you go.
So,
There you go.
you know, I would like to recognize some folks that made legislative day successful in the
Yes.
planning stage and the whole bit. And that is, you know, first and primary in our hearts is the Texas Coalition of Clubs and Independents.
Yep.
You got some hardworking people there. They were basically, you know, it was hosted by Region 1, which is out of Austin.
Yep.
Region 3 out of Houston was very active. And of course, our home base, Region 2, DFW, was very active in it. And as a matter of fact, had constituents present at Nieve's office.
Yes, they did.
On HB 748. We had constituents in there staring her in the eye, saying, "We live where you're supposed to represent."
That's right.
And, you know, coalition of clubs and independents is pretty damned important because it's all the clubs get together along with the independents. And this is what we do. We do politics and bikers' rights and motorcycle safety. And, you know, if you live up in the DFW area, I would certainly encourage you to attend the COC up here. We meet every other month. The next meeting is going to be in March. And it's March, let's see. It is March 17th. It's the third Sunday. And every other month it's on the third Sunday. And this next time it is again going to be at Southern Junction in Royce City. Great place to meet. The meeting starts at 2 o'clock. Lots of guys show up about noon, get some lunch, drink a few beers, talk a lot, the whole bit. And then the meeting starts at 2 and it's usually over promptly at 3 o'clock. There's no admission fee. The clubs that belong make an annual contribution to the COC to help with funding on certain political things and bikers that need help.
Yep.
And as a matter of fact, a lot of the COC regions were contributing. Let's see, the parking at the Capitol was a few $1,000s, and the regions all kicked in to help pay for that.
You know, Mel, that brings up something because Tony Tinderholt, Representative Tony Tinderholt, was shocked that we were paying for those parking spaces, and because people had been complaining to him about the motorcycles that are parked in all these parking spaces that had covers over them that were for the bikers, but the bikers paid for those parking spaces.
That's right.
It wasn't anything that was given to them. And Representative Tinderholt was kind of surprised about that.
Yeah, so I'm sure he will carry the message back whenever anyone brings it up again.
Yeah.
He's not shy about that stuff.
No. And wow. I thought that was pretty cool that he was shocked and he going, why are y'all paying for those? You know, I mean, I have a feeling Tony think that those spaces should have been provided for us.
Now, there was one other organization involved in this legislation day, and that was Texas ABATE.
Yep.
And that's comprised mostly of, I should say comprised entirely of independent writers. It's I don't know exactly how they're organized, but they have like chapters sprinkled throughout the state. But they were active. They've been an active part of the committee calls we've been on leading up to legislation day. They were in there swinging a bat just like everyone else as we were visiting the legislators. So they were actively involved also.
Yeah, you know, Mel, they in Tinderholt's office, Ski was there. He's a big part of the ABATE. I don't know exactly what position he holds, but you know, he's been an intricate part of those legislative those meetings prior to legislative day, those online conferences. There was supposed to be one tonight, and I was on hold forever, and that never did materialize. I don't guess either that or I was dialing wrong numbers and wrong access codes, and it was on somebody else's meeting. Who knows? But I think it was the same numbers.
And I think the AMA was involved also.
Yeah,
if I remember right.
Yeah. So be a good thing to see the AMA back involved since all the Twin Peaks incident where
and of course Double D came down from Washington. David Devereux. Yep.
Matter of fact is I'm waiting on an email from Double D about these incidents that we've been having where the law officers are running over and threatening places with a call to the TABC, and you know that is violating the constitutional rights of certain people, and I'm going to let them know. And so, Double D, if you're listening, I want that information. I told him I would remind him. But Mel, I think we've about covered it. You know, it's always you know, after we finish one of these things, all of a sudden something happens afterward. And so.
Well, it just gives us that much more to talk about.
That's right. In between now and the next broadcast, stand by for the next thing. We're sure it'll come up.
We could have, you know, you guys out there listening, you could on our Facebook site, Texas Biker Radio, you could leave comments out there about things you'd like to hear us talk about or ask questions about stuff, and we can research it, and we'll be happy to bring it up on the show.
Sure, like the Harley Davidson Live Wire. We'll see how that goes. With that, Mel, I think we're about done.
You bet.
I imagine everybody's tired of watching me jiggle.
I'm done.
With that, everybody, have a great rest of the week and a nice weekend. Lord, let me finish with a prayer. Lord, help this weather get warmer. We need some clear days. We're tired of the cold, and the people up north are really tired of it. They've been told if they go outside, don't breathe. Amen. With that, Mel, Good night, man.
Good night.